The Financial Responsibility or Ownership Form, otherwise known as the FRO Form, is used to apply for an Erosion and Sedimentation Control Certificate of Plan approval in the state of North Carolina. No person may initiate any land disturbing activity on more than 1 acre as covered by the State Sedimentation Pollution Control Act before this form and an Erosion and Sedimentation Control Plan have been submitted and approved by the Land Quality Section of the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality or one of its local government programs. This tutorial will explain how to complete and sign the state form. Unless otherwise noted, all blanks or fields on this form are required to be completed. If you think the information is not applicable to your project, please fill in the field with NA or seek assistance, but do not leave it blank. Doing otherwise could delay the processing of your application or reject it completely. So here we have a completed form with an example which we will walk you through. Part A, Item 1. List the name of your project. In this example, we will be working with a subdivision. If subdivision lots are part of the project, include the lot numbers in the name. Item 2, we need the location of your land disturbing activity. We need the county, in the city or the township, the street address, and the latitude and longitude. Please include the latitude and longitude of the main entrance to your tract in decimal degrees to at least 4 decimal places, as shown in the example. Item 3, we need the approximate date your land disturbing activity will begin. This should be at least 30 calendar days from the date you submit a complete application. Remember, no one shall initiate a land disturbing activity that will disturb more than 1 acre on a tract unless 30 or more days prior to initiating the activity, an Erosion and Sedimentation Control Plan is filed and approved. The exception would be for those plans filed under our Express Review Program. Item 4, what is the purpose of your development? Is it residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, recreational? List the purpose here. Item 5. We need the total area within the limits of disturbance shown on your plan, including any off-site borrow and waste areas, other than those off-site borrow and waste areas currently covered under another permit. If you are submitting a revised plan which will increase acreage, list the original acreage separately from the increase and show the total. So in this example, 13 acres was originally applied for. Now the developer is wanting to submit a revised plan showing an increase in 1.35 acres for a total of 14.35 acres on this project. Item 6, we need to calculate the fee. We charge $100 per acre, rounded up to the next whole acre. If you are submitting a revised plan which will increase acreage, list the fee you previously paid plus the amount for the additional acreage and show the total. So in this example, the original application came with a $1,300 fee. This is now being submitted as a revised plan for an additional 1.35 acres that needs to be rounded up to 2 acres before it is multiplied by $100. So the applicant will submit $200 with this revised application and plan for a total of $1,500 to date on the project. In the example you see below in the written instructions, the 8.10 acre application fee is $900. That same fee would apply if the acreage was 8.01, 8.9, or 9.00 acres. For projects requesting to be included under the Express Review Program, the application fee is a dual charge. In addition to the normal $100 per acre fee, an Express Review of your plan calls for a $250 per acre fee. The latter fee is capped at 8 acres, after which the supplemental express fee is a fixed $2,000. The normal fee has no ceiling amount. So in the example you see here below in the written instructions for 8.10 acres is to be paid for as 2 checks, one for $900 and another for $2,000 for a total of $2,900. Both amounts are calculated by rounding the acreage up to the nearest whole acre before applying the rate. If you are submitting a revised plan which will increase acreage, Call your DEQ Land Resources Regional Office to confirm the fee. Checks should be made out to the NC DEQ. Item 7. Has an erosion and sediment control plan been previously filed? Is this a new or revised plan with additional acreage, as shown in the example? Then check yes, and check the box that says enclosed. On the other hand, is this the revision that did not require another plan filing but does require this form to be updated and resubmitted? Then you would only need to check the box that says yes. Are you sending in this application ahead of the plan? Then you would only need to check the box that says no. Check each and every box that applies to your reasoning. We need a person to contact should there be erosion control issues that arise on your tract. This could be any one of a number of individuals, but is commonly the site superintendent. Item 9. List the landowner or landowners of record. If there are multiple landowners for the tract to be developed, list the first landowner here and any other co-owners or adjacent landowners belonging to the land on your tract. Do this on an attached accompanying page. The names listed here must match the deed or the deeds that you are to submit for the property or properties being disturbed on the tract you wish to permit. Item 10. We must have the property deed book and page number as well as a copy of the most current deed to allow work to be conducted on this property. From here and throughout the remainder of this form, street addresses are required. The mailing address will also be provided if it differs from the street address. P.O. boxes are only allowed as a mailing address if they differ from the street or physical address that you provided. Part B1. Here you will list the financially responsible party. This is the company claiming financial responsibility for the land disturbing activity. It may be the landowner or a company such as a builder or a developer. It may also be a governmental entity. If there are multiple responsible parties for the tract to be developed, list the first party here and any remaining parties on an attached accompanying sheet. Most companies desiring to conduct business within this state are required to register beforehand with the North Carolina Office of the Secretary of State. If your financially responsible party is a domestic company formed in North Carolina, then it will likely be listed on the state business registry. List the registered name here. Companies that must register with the Office of the Secretary of State include corporations, limited liability companies, and most partnerships. Note that if you are not the owner of the land to be disturbed, you'll need to include with this application the landowner signed and dated written consent for the applicant to submit a draft erosion and sedimentation control plan and to conduct the anticipated land disturbing activity. This is an example of a landowner-builder agreement, or a permission letter. It has no defined format, but needs to be specific to the project. Part 2A. Each company is required to maintain a registered agent and registered agent office of record in North Carolina, otherwise known as the registered office. A registered agent is an individual who resides in North Carolina and whose business office is that of the registered office. Registered agents are often called agents for service of process or resident agents. The registered agent may be an individual or a business, including your own, if it's considered domestic. If you list the agent as a business, please include the name of an individual point of contact for us. If your registered agent is a business entity required to be filed with the Secretary of State's office, the entity must also be active upon the business registry in North Carolina. We will verify this. Refer to the Secretary of State's office website for the responsibilities of a registered agent. Part 2B. If your financially responsible party is a foreign company formed outside of North Carolina, then give the name of the North Carolina agent that you registered with our Secretary of State's office. You are to complete either Part 2A or 2B, whichever applies. Whichever part you did not complete, place a notation in at least one field indicating that the part or section is not applicable. Part 2C. Under North Carolina's Assumed Business Name Act, companies are allowed to take on a different name from that which they registered or filed with the Secretary of State's office. If your financially responsible party is a business operating under an assumed name, list the name here under which you are doing business as. If you are one of the few businesses not required to register with the North Carolina office and are operating under an assumed name, list the name here under which you are doing business as, and attach a copy of the Certificate of Assumed Name to this form. Part 2D. On the express permitting application, this section is included to allow for the engineering firm and the designer or consultant who might be preparing your plan to be contacted in the event we have questions about your plan or its application. This is to help expedite your review. Please list this information here. Next is the signature section. An authorized statement of financial responsibility is required in order to apply for a certificate of plan approval. An erosion and sedimentation control plan shall be disapproved if this statement is not signed, dated, and notarized. In this next section is where a representative of the financially responsible party is to complete this task. So just who can sign the financial responsibility or ownership form? The individual or individuals who hold signature authority for the company and is or are claiming financial responsibility for the land disturbing activity. This would need to be an officer of the corporation, such as a president, vice president, CEO, or CFO. If your business is a limited liability company, it can also include a manager or executive director of the LLC. If you are a general or limited partnership, it must be signed by a general partner. A principal executive officer or elected official must sign on behalf of a governmental entity. An individual, or their attorney-in-fact, who plans to conduct a land disturbing activity must sign this form as the financially responsible person. The financial responsibility or ownership form, otherwise known as the FRO form, can also be signed by court-appointed fiduciaries. Registered agents with authority to execute instruments on behalf of the company may also sign this form. In the latter two cases, we would need written notification of that authority. Who would not qualify to sign the FRO form? Organizers, non-managing members, project managers, economic-only interest owners, or anyone without signature authority would not qualify to sign this form. An original financial responsibility or ownership form must be sent to us. We do not accept photocopies. You should keep a photocopy for yourself. Handwritten ink signatures, also called wet signatures, are required. Electronic signatures such as a screenshot of your handwritten signature or a scripted font are not acceptable. In this example, we are using a scripted font as a signature, which would not be acceptable on a real application. We require the FRO form to be authorized through a notary service. Your digital signature, such as a DocuSign or Adobe Sign, does not substitute as a notary service. Notarization of the financial responsibility or ownership form is to be performed using either a traditional stamp for use with paper or by electronic means. Under North Carolina's Electronic Notary Act, electronic notarizations must comply with all of the requirements for paper notarization, except that the notary signature, certificate, and seal may be electronic. Financial responsibility or ownership forms may be notarized outside the state of North Carolina. Any notarial certificate or act made in another jurisdiction shall be sufficient in this state if it is made in accordance with federal law or the laws of the jurisdiction where the notarial certificate or notarial act is made. We reserve the right to request evidence of the authenticity of an official electronic signature and electronic seal of a notary. If it's not obvious, the typed or printed name must match the name of the individual being certified. If more than one financially responsible party exists, each must be notarized separately. In this case, you will need to attach a separate copy of this page, complete with certificate statement, signatures, dates, and seal. We've added 2 additional pages to our application. This one allows you to add additional landowners. This page allows you to add additional financially responsible parties. Once completed, dated, signed, and notarized, Please submit your original form along with the remainder of your application package to the DEQ office within the region where your project will occur. If any information on this form changes throughout the life of your project, you will need to update and resubmit another original form to your plan review or permit authority. This concludes the tutorial.